Rotten service.
We just watched Jan's mom torch our Kiss tickets.
Give me your Kiss tickets or I'll pop your faces in.
Kiss.
Live from the palatial Lincoln Financial Studios, it's the Bob and Sheri Show. Joining us this hour from the hottest band in the world, it's Paul Stanley from Kiss. Now, clad in leather with 6-inch platform shoes on and full Kiss makeup, it's Bob and Sheri.
And members of the Kiss Army, let me tell you, it's everything you thought it would be, from his raven hair to his ripped chest. Joining us live in the studio, artist, musician, visionary, Paul Stanley.
Oh my.
Welcome, Paul.
That's worth getting up early in the morning for.
Baby, you look
Oh,
good.
thanks. You too.
You are totally the rock star thing, completely. This is so cool to see you. I've been a fan forever and ever and ever.
Well, I've been a fan of yours since I knew you were doing that.
About 10 seconds ago. Our producer, Todd, is a member of the Kiss Army. Can you give me the doll? Give me the action figure. Hang on.
Action figures, not a doll. An action figure.
This is one of his most prized possessions, still in the original wrap.
For those who obviously can't see, this is a action figure of me. And when you have an action figure that's as buff as this, you've got to work hard. Every morning I wake up and go, get into the gym.
Were you really surprised when they came out with that? How were you approached?
With a big check. Actually, this is probably the third or fourth in a line of action figures that started in the 70s.
Yeah.
And, Kiss obviously is a band that has possibilities in areas that other bands can't. We all love the Eagles, but we don't want a Don Henley doll. So, so it's sometimes people say, oh, we're marketing geniuses, but the truth of it is that we put out the things that people want. When somebody says they want a belt buckle or a T-shirt or an action figure, if they want it, why shouldn't they have it?
Yeah, that's right. Well, Todd went to, where was it, Myrtle Beach?
Yeah. Oh, the Kiss Coffee House.
The Kiss Coffee House, yeah.
That place, if I spent more time there, I'd look like Meatloaf. The food there in this place, the sweets are unbelievable. It's very cool.
Let's talk about your artwork for a minute, because that's why you're here.
Let's talk about my artwork for 10 minutes.
The stuff is great. I saw it.
Thank you.
Over at Wentworth Gallery the other day. And is there something about musicians that you have often more talent than just one? Like Ron Woods paints, and there have been a lot of musical people. Tony Bennett is a terrific painter, right?
Actually, Tony Curtis also is a great painter.
Yeah.
McCartney's pretty good. He's written a few good songs also.
Yeah, right. So, were you always painting?
Yeah, actually, I was into art before I was into music. I always loved music, but it didn't seem practical. When I was about 6 years old, my dream was to become a teenager and become a rock star, and everybody told me, stick with the art. And as I got older, the passion for music just took over. But I've always been involved in designing album covers or designing stages and things like that. And then about 6 years ago, I was going through a divorce. And let me catch my breath as I said that. And a friend of mine said, you need to paint. And I really hadn't ever painted. I'd spent a lot of time doing art, but
almost therapeutic.
Yeah, it's very cathartic.
Yeah.
And something about that resonated with me. And I went out and bought brushes and canvases and went home and started on this journey. And it's been real interesting because I came from a background where my art was very detailed and very realistic. And if I was going to paint a cup, it should look like a cup. But I found that this was more about almost like purging or discovering, what's going on inside me. So, it was interesting to just paint without any sense of where I was going. But afterwards, it was very interesting to sit back and go, so that's what's going on. And
the colors are wonderful. They're very strong, very vivid colors in almost all the work, right?
And there's a lot of layers of color, so you see color through color.
Yeah.
And it was also interesting because the first piece that I really liked, I put up on my wall in the family room, and people would just come over and immediately be drawn to that one piece. And I didn't sign it because I thought it would take away the credibility of it at that point.
Right.
And people came over and everybody would say, whose work is that? So I knew that people were connecting with it. So, I just kept at it, and the response and the amount of people acquiring the art has been, beyond anything I could have imagined.
People are saying right now, Paul Stanley has a family room.
You know that
Did that jump out at you?
that leapt out at me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
The idea of Paul Stanley
Yeah.
in a family room, much
Yeah.
less
Is
having
there a
one of his own.
barcalounger, a lazy boy? I mean,
Yeah,
and the
what-
dog, and I
what's in there?
smoke the pipe. You know.
Yeah. It must be for someone who started out pursuing art and then sort of got sidetracked into this somewhat successful musical career you've had. It must be really gratifying for you to have people come to you through your artwork and then only then discover that, oh God, that's Paul Stanley from Kiss.
Well, yeah, the interesting part about it is that from what I've heard of some of the galleries is that people are drawn to the art before they know who did it. And that's great. And look, obviously my fame gets my foot in the door, but people can still slam that door. So, people are not forced to buy something. So obviously I may have a certain advantage over somebody else, but, I'm about marketing and about putting my goods out front, whether it's my chest, my music, or my art.
Well, your fans are, I think, the most devoted in music.
I think you're right.
I mean, you realize that the first, last, and only organized demonstration at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was on behalf of Kiss.
Mm.
And once you're a Kiss fan, you're always a Kiss fan. You'll go through phases, and then you'll kind of outgrow the music, or it won't really be relevant to you. It won't speak to you as much anymore. You'll have your Dave Matthews phase, or you'll have your Rage Against the Machine phase. People who love Kiss, it never slows down. It never abates.
I think,
What do you think that's about?
I think that Kiss is something that people relate to, and it sets a foundation sometimes for other things that go on in your life. But it's part of it's like a cornerstone.
What's the most Who is the most outrageous fan that you can't forget? We had something. Somebody called us. I forget where they lived. They said, "My house, the outside of my house, has been painted to honor Kiss," and we said, "Stop it." He said, "No," and they gave us his website.
And sure enough.
And sure enough, it was in the Midwest somewhere. The
And his name was
outside.
Gene Simmons, right?
No, it wasn't. But the whole outside of the house was a tribute to Kiss.
Well, in some way, I always say you can't necessarily look like Kiss, but a lot of people feel like Kiss. There's something that touches a nerve in people. And, I meet doctors, I meet lawyers, other performers, whether it's Garth Brooks or Lenny Kravitz. You find that Kiss has influenced a lot of people in ways that you might not expect.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe what it is it's a rallying point that says that the underdog can win.
Mm-hmm.
Even my solo album, which was called Live to Win, was really about the idea that you have an obligation to pursue what is important to you, your goals and the things that mean something to you, regardless of what other people say. That way, even if you don't succeed, you've won.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking with Paul Stanley, the artist and the frontman for the band Kiss. And we need to take a break, but like at my carpool line, none of the dads look like staggering, sexy rock guides. And I'm wondering if you're able to move about in the world and be left alone, or can you just not go out in public?
I literally, I'm up at 6:30 in the morning. I make my son breakfast, take him to school. I just resigned from being on the board of trustees of the school. I wear many hats.
And you can go about your business like that. Because I promise you, if you showed up at my daughter's school today, even the moms they wouldn't need to know 100% who you were. They'd throw themselves at you.
Well, if the daughters were old enough, I'd come by, and if the kids are young,
tutoring.
and if the kids are young enough, I'll still come by if their moms are picking them up.
All right, we'll be back with more with our guest, Paul Stanley. If you have a question for Paul, or you just need to tell him how much you love him, 1-888-BOB-SHERI, 888-262-7437. It's the Bob and Sheri Show, 18 minutes past the hour.
Now, back to Bob and Sheri.
And we're back with our guest, the artist, Paul Stanley. Our producer, Todd, is too verklempt to ask, will you sign his action figure before you leave? You did?
He already
Okay,
did.
good. Because he's been shaking over there. And we have some listeners on the line.
I got to ask one question before. What was that like? Was playing at the Super Bowl a few years ago?
It was, it was tremendous because Super Bowl is such a part of Americana and such a part of what makes this country so great. So to be a part of it was amazing. It was very much like when we closed the Olympics a few years ago. There's a big difference between being a band and a phenomenon, because bands make music and phenomenons change culture.
Right.
So we've had it great. I just want to say one thing about the shows at Wentworth, and it's almost like a public service announcement. And that's that if you've got T-shirts, memorabilia, tour books, anything that you think is important, leave it home. Because, there's a time and a place for everything.
Right.
And these great people at the gallery are there to make money,
Right.
as everybody at home.
It's an art gallery.
It's an art gallery, and
Right.
it's the wrong place at the wrong time, and there won't be any exceptions. And I know everybody thinks that they're the only person that you should sign for, but there won't be any exceptions. And there'll be another time and another place. If you're interested in the art and you want to come by, that's the right place and the right time.
All right, well said.
Joe, you are talking to Paul Stanley.
Hey, Paul, let me start and say I'm one of Kiss's big fans, and I'm going to have to check out your artwork tonight.
Well, thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. How long you been in the Army?
I tell you what, you were about the first concert I ever seen way back in Kansas City.
I hope you're not AWOL.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Did you have a question for Paul?
Yeah, my question is, what made y'all go back to the makeup?
Well,
I never did really find that out.
that's a good question. Really what happened was, once we lost original members, we started having this idea that we should come up with new characters to replace, what had left. But the truth is, whether we were trying to have Rabbit Boy or Squirrel Child, or so it didn't look right. The truth is that the four of us came up with each other's characters in one way or another. We were all responsible for making that, and to suddenly come up with new characters really was ultimately cheating our fans. So we took off the makeup and kind of rethought it and realized, those four people, those four figures are iconic in the sense that no matter where you go in the world, if somebody looks at a picture of Kiss, they immediately know it's Kiss. They may not know the names of each member. So at this point, we just realized that those four characters need to move on and continue regardless of who it is portraying them.
Okay.
Very good. Good question. Thanks a lot, Joe. Candy has a question actually about your artwork. Go ahead, Candy. You're on the air.
Hi, Paul.
I love women named Candy.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Yes, it is my real name.
Well, good. I'm sure you're sweet.
Thank you. Your artwork, the music goes without saying. It's Kiss, it's there. It's like you said, it's a pack of dogs. It'll always be there. Your artwork, is it from your trials and tribulations of when you first started Kiss and then like the deaths of Eric Carr and then the other things like when you split up with Ace and Peter? Is it like you purging your whole life because for such a long time you lived in anonymity, unknown almost? And is it just your way of totally just letting loose everything that you've kept in for all these years?
Yeah, what's the inspiration?
Well, it's not like constantly vomiting or anything. Really what it is
you purge what you've held in for so long.
Well, I haven't held anything in, but I think that, reflecting on your life or reflecting on each day is important, whether at the end of the day you sit around and think about what you did and how it affected you. So, painting for me is just, it's like songwriting. It's a way to not only share my feelings with other people, but also for me to get in touch with them myself.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you,
very
Candy.
much. We've only got about a minute left
So
here.
let's have Paul's biggest fan in the world talk to him. Hi, Rachel. You're on with Paul Stanley.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, Rachel.
Oh, it's so good to talk to you.
Oh.
Actually, I have a different type of question. I was just
Is it okay for the air?
I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
sorry?
here's something in her voice too.
Yeah.
Honey, we got about a minute left. What do you want to ask?
Okay, we actually saw you in Atlanta on your Live to Win tour.
Yeah.
And we waited outside for almost 3 hours waiting for you to go back to your tour bus. I actually got a picture when you were going in. Where were you? Where did you disappear to?
Where did I disappear to?
Yeah.
The tour bus that was outside, right?
Yeah, it was, but we were there like so quick, and I had just met Gene 2 days prior
Right.
in Atlanta at the Kiss signing, which I love the cologne.
Right.
I just wanted to know where you went.
You better have an answer because I think Rachel's going to hurt you. If you
Yeah.
I'd go with the Waffle. Why don't you just say the Waffle House?
Follow the tour bus.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Rachel. Thanks
Paul
very
Stanley,
much.
such a pleasure. We'll hook up all the web links on our site so you can take a look at Paul's art for yourself. Great meeting you. Continued success with this.
Thank you.
Good
Likewise.
luck with the artwork too.
Thanks so
It's
much.
terrific. Yeah.
Appreciate it.